Hello, YouTube. This is Lefty79, the commissioner of the NFL Stableford League, back with you again for another installment of the NFL Stableford League March Madness first round wrap up. So this is a new format of a show, but it's very similar to what we've been doing here in the past 3-4 months, and I'm going to be recapping the winners and the losers in the first round of NFL March Madness, and what a week it was. A lot of good games between some very uh, evenly matched teams, but also there were a few mild upsets in here. And let's get to it with this matchup on the screen that is going to take place in the second round, and it is the winners bracket matchup. And my choice for this NFL March Madness game of the week, it is the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Bino's Chargers ended up winning their first round game 30-27 over the Washington Commanders. So the Commies got knocked out into the losers bracket, and the Chargers and the Bengals are going to renew their acquaintance from the NFL season in the playoffs. And this is a very good matchup in the season as well. So Jason CK, future Buckeye, uh, the defending Super Bowl champions, they advanced to this matchup after defeating the Las Vegas Raiders 27-22 in the first round. So this is going to be a battle, folks. This is going to be a slobber knocker. I don't know who's going to win this one. Bino does get some handicap, but Jason has been one tough hombre in this league, and he doesn't lose a lot of games. But this is at a neutral site in Buffalo, and the winner of this game will be in the Sweet 16 and will enjoy a week off while the play-in games occur next week, which they'll start on Sunday. And there'll be more on those in a minute. But this is the game of the week. I wanted to get this one announced as this is going to be a battle. But overall in the tournament, things have been going really well. The first round, everybody got their game in. I really appreciate that. I know things are a little bit busier this week for everybody with all the college basketball now starting, and the Players Championship and lots of other things happening in sports. So hopefully everybody is able to get their second round games in. I know we had a few team owners have to use their extensions, which it's early, so I mean I understand, and life does get in the way. Uh, but I'll do everything I can to avoid a zero score for this because uh, I know it's a one-off tournament, and it's more of a relaxed type environment for this time of the year and just to have some fun. But with that being said, we do have to say goodbye to one team already. We'll get to this matchup a little bit later on in the show. And we also have one team that has already advanced to the Sweet 16. So we'll get to that a little bit later. That's a teaser, so stay tuned. And then we'll also have some news regarding the next event after the March Madness tournament concludes in April. So there will be a break after this tournament in April. The USFL will be starting, so that'll be exciting in real life. So we'll see how that shakes out. We will not be doing anything in this league regarding the USFL. I thought about it, and I thought about maybe doing like a team type thing for like the 8 different teams, but I decided it wasn't an NFL thing, and to be honest, I, their format of their season is going to be odd. They're only playing in 2 locations, and the playoffs are going to be in a different location, and I just didn't think it would fit. I really wanted to kind of go back to a team format though. So what's going to happen is Stableford Cup 3, which will take us to the end of this game hopefully. It's going to start in June. So after the March Madness tournament, there will be a little bit of a prolonged break for course selections and to put teams together for the Cup. And this year it'll be a little bit different because it will not be doubles. It will be trios. Since it is Stableford Cup 3, I thought, hey, since we have 33 players now, because we added Allen, the new Saints man who took over for Greg in the March Madness tournament, I figured, you know what, let's keep that 33 number working for us. And when Greg does get back, we will have 33 players and 11 teams of 3 taking part in the NFL Stableford Cup. So that will be exciting, and I'm looking forward to that. And I wanted to break that news in this show. So that will be what will happen in June. The third installment of the NFL Stableford Cup. Always a fun time, and you'll get a little bit more fun this year as you add an extra player to each team. And I think it's going to make it fun because right now, they say three is a crowd sometimes, but no, in my mind, I think 3 is company. And you know what? Come on, knock on my door. We've been waiting for you. 3's company too. So at the end of the day, I think this is going to be exciting. There's going to be some format differences from the previous year's doubles tournament. Uh, Not going to do that long tournament thing. That's not going to probably happen. But with 11 teams, there's going to be a little bit of a logistical hurdle there for scheduling. But I'll make it work. I mean, usually I do. So we'll make sure that happens. But the main thing is we'll have 3 people per team. Uh, the captains are going to have to be decided. And, well, announcing today in this show, there will be 4 captain spots chosen out of the final 4 in the March Madness tournament. So if you make the final 4 in the March Madness tournament, you will be one of the 11 captains that will be in the NFL Stableford Cup. So your team will be represented. So what that means is if you make it to the end of your bracket, you don't have to win the thing. You don't have to win the whole thing. You just have to get to the final 4 in this March Madness tournament, and you will receive a captaincy for the NFL Stableford Cup. Unfortunately, one team is already ineligible as they are already eliminated. Sorry, but I decided that I think that's a good way to add some new blood to the captains and not just have all the top teams always get it, but we'll see. But as it is, if someone does get a Final Four spot that is already going to be a captain based on the other criteria I'm going to name here in a second, then I'll have to find a different way to select the captain. But as it is, what I'm going to do is the other captains that are not in the Final Four will be based on your regular season and playoff record in the 2022 season, or 2021 season, I should say. So your total record, including playoffs, and your record in this March Madness tournament will be all taken into account. So basically, like the last 6 months of play. So basically, 2 of these teams on the screen right now could be captains in Stableford Cup. So if one of these 2 teams does get to the Final Four, possibly, then that'll open up another spot for another top record from the 2021 season and in this tournament. So if somebody makes a really good run in this tournament and doesn't make the Final Four, it could still help them to get a captain spot in Stableford Cup 3. So how's this 3-man thing going to work? Well, it's going to work a little bit differently to what we did last year, which was definitely a scoring fest. Lots of points are put on the board, and hey, kudos to the teams for putting those scores up because those were very impressive. But this year it's going to be a little bit different as all three players are going to contribute equally to their team score, as there will be 6 holes counted per player per match per game. So every week it's going to be different. But as it is, 2 of the 3 players will be competing for the Hail Marys, and one of the 3 will just be doing the opening 6 holes. So I'm going to divide it up by the first 6 holes, the next 6 holes, and the final 6 holes. So it will be divided into thirds, and what will happen is you'll play the round, but you will not know which 6 holes you're going to play until the league, after the schedule and everything has been announced. I will basically end up having to post the separate. Kind of envisioning announcing who plays what 6 holes probably after all the matchups are announced and everything else, because I think it'd be the most fair thing to do is to have the captains always be matched up against each other. So whatever the captains play that week, that will be what they play. But I think what will happen is that I'll assign each player on the team a random number from 1 to 3, and every game the ones will match up, the twos will match up, and the threes will match up. So that way it's not based on, the captain won't always be playing the Hail Mary holes, or always, the weakest player on the team, points wise or handicap wise, will always be playing the first 6 holes, because those probably have the least ramifications on your score in this format. So that's how we're going to do it. I think that's the most fair way to do it with 3 people. Uh, you know, it's something different. It's the third Stableford Cup. I wanted to work that theme in, and honestly, I've seen a lot of 4-person teams. I've seen 6-person teams now. We have never had 3-person teams, so we'll see how that dynamic works. As we've already done doubles, we've already done a 4-person format as well. So those are some of the announcements I wanted to get off the front here, and looking forward to June after we get through the March Madness tournament, which will be deciding some of the captains for Stableford Cup 3. So I'll have the captains announced probably sometime, well, right after the tournament ends. But then those 11 captains will need to be picking a course for Stableford Cup 3, and it must be a course that we have not played before in the season or in any of the cups, and I would prefer it to be tour worthy, and hopefully something that's just come out recently. It'd be nice, because I know like we're kind of winding down on this game, so kind of would like to see like some more recent courses picked. I know there's some nice tropical ones that are coming out. I don't want to limit it. I don't want to limit it to summer tropical theme, but I think it might be a nice change of pace, like to since we're going to be in the summer, and it's going to be a nice environment hopefully. Uh, Maybe that might be a theme choice that I might have to look into, but I'm not sure. It all depends on how many tour worthy courses are available in that theme, but I'm seeing some really good designers making some pretty top notch courses now, with the World Cup of Design now in full swing. So that's some of the announcements I had, and we're going to move on here from this matchup. Uh, it's going to be a great one. And now we'll go to the losers bracket in the Buffalo bracket and find out what happened here between these 2 teams. First off, we have the Las Vegas Raiders of Chinatown, and they're going to be taking on the Commies of Zach. So this is going to be a losers bracket, winner go home matchup uh, between the Raiders and the Commies. I don't know who's going to win this one. I know on paper it looks good for the Commies, but Chinatown can come through with some really big rounds at times, and after that first round loss to the Bengals, he's going to be wanting to come back and put up a big number. And now they've each seen the course, they've seen the conditions in Buffalo, and we'll see if the Raiders can bounce back and maybe pull off an upset here, as they just weren't able to get the job done against the Bengals in the first round. The Commies, on the other hand, gave the Chargers a good matchup. They just didn't have quite enough, as the Chargers were able to take the 30-27 win and relegate the Commies down out to the losers bracket. So now the winner of this matchup will be in the play-in game and will take on the loser of that Chargers Bengals matchup to decide who will be the play-in representative from the Buffalo bracket and move on to the Sweet 16. And those matchups will be decided next week. And the loser of this, unfortunately, we will be saying goodbye to. So we'll see if the Raiders do in fact walk the plank, or if the Commies end up getting sent out to the gulag. So we'll find out, as that is the Buffalo bracket recap. Now let's head over to Pittsburgh, as we already had some breaking news here, and let's find out the first matchup on the docket here. Well, it's Franz's New England Patriots taking on the team from Pittsburgh, in Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Steelers of Pat Strife. Now, this matchup has already been completed. I can say now that the New England Patriots took this one down, and it was a nice win for them. I believe it was a 29-26 score, and the Patriots will be moving into the Sweet 16, so they'll be taking a week off next week to prepare for their next opponent. Now, it won't be Pat, we know that, as Pat will now be going to the play-in game, as he will be taking on the winner of the next matchup that I will be announcing here from Pittsburgh shortly, the losers bracket matchup. But in week one, the Patriots, not in week one, in round one, the Patriots took down the San Francisco 49ers 29-27. So that was a really high scoring game in Pittsburgh, but the Patriots had just enough to pull that one out by a deuce. And the other matchup that got to this point was the Steelers taking down the Buccaneers of Tampa Bay by a field goal. So the Steelers were able to use the home field advantage, or not the home field advantage, but the home crowd in the neutral site to their advantage, and got that 28-25 win to get to this game. But unfortunately now the Steelers have to go to the losers bracket to take on the winner of this next matchup, and here it is. It is the aforementioned Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the team that lost in week one to the Patriots, the San Francisco 49ers. So this is an interesting matchup between two NFC teams here that won their divisions, that won their respective divisions, and it's going to be a toss-up as far as I know. It's just these two teams, neither one of them want to go home. And the Buccaneers, after that 3-point loss to the Steelers, are looking for some revenge, or looking for some retribution here to get back into March Madness. And if they're able to win this game, then they will move into the play-in against the Steelers. Whereas the 49ers, they gave a good effort against the Patriots in the first round, and now if they can keep that same pace going, they should be able to move on to the play-in and be the one to take on the Steel Curtain. We'll find out, though. Both teams had a really good regular season. These are two playoff teams from a month ago, or 2 months ago, as it is now. But we'll see what happens in this one, as a very good team is going to go home after this second round game. Now we'll move on to the bracket in my backyard, the Milwaukee bracket, as we find out who won in round one there. Let's get to that one right now. Well, we have the Los Angeles Rams of Kevin, and they will be playing, well, the neighbors to Milwaukee's south, the Chicago Bears. So this is another nice NFC matchup here. The Rams are a playoff team from the season, and in their round one game, they put it on the Colts 22-18. Didn't have to really go too high scoring in that one, but it was more of a defensive battle. Whereas the Bears had to go to overtime with the Kansas City Chiefs, and they won 30-24 on a touchdown in overtime as it went to the extra period. It was 24-24, and the Bears put the touchdown on the board. So don't know what to expect here, as I know the Rams probably on paper are the favorite, but the Bears really impressed me in their round one game in Milwaukee. Uh, so we'll see. You know the Bears are going to have a lot of fans traveling up I-94 for this one, and if you don't know where that is, you can look that up on Google Maps. But as it is, the Rams, it's always seemed to step up in big games, and this week will be no different in my opinion. So it's more like the head versus the heart here. As the Rams is more my head thinking, yeah, they shouldn't have a problem here, but the Bears, the way they played in week one against a really impressive opponent in Kike in the Chiefs, I think anything could happen here in Milwaukee. But now let's go to the loser side of this bracket and find out what's going to happen here, as we'll go to that matchup here next. It's the aforementioned Kike's Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Indianapolis Colts, who really had a struggle in the round one game. Really just could not find their footing in Milwaukee in the round one matchup against the Rams. But the Chiefs were able to put up a pretty decent number, but they just couldn't get the job done in overtime. So one of these two teams goes home this week, and one of them will move on to the play-in game next week. Now, who will they face? Well, will it be the Rams or will it be the Bears? We'll find out. But right now, I got to think the Chiefs are probably feeling pretty good about this matchup, as I think the horseshoe was kind of stuck in the mud in round one. So we'll see what happens though. Maybe the week the playing on pin 2 might help this week. Maybe the more familiar you get with the surroundings, the better you might do. So we'll find out. But as it is, should be a good battle here between two AFC teams here that are looking to make a name for themselves here in this March Madness tournament. But now we're going to move to the next bracket in the Midwest, and that will be the Indianapolis bracket. Well, let's find out what happened there. Let's go to the winner's side, as it's a team I know pretty well. The Green Bay Packers, who had some really good news this week in real life, taking on the Houston Texans of Paul. Now, this is a matchup I don't believe we've really even seen in the regular season, but as it is, this is going to be an intriguing one, as Paul gets a pretty good amount of handicap for being on Xbox, whereas the lefty, myself, I play like I should get a lot of handicap sometimes, so we'll see what happens. But I think this is going to be a good matchup. On paper, these two teams match up pretty good in the league, and Houston is a playoff team, and they could definitely pull off a win here. But the Packers really played well in their round one game, as they beat the Minnesota Vikings, their division rival, 28-21 by a touchdown. So they were really focused in that one, and they got the job done. Whereas Houston also put up a pretty good score, 26, over the Seattle Seahawks, who had 20. So both teams kind of had an easier go of it in the first round, but now they're going to clash, and one of these two are going to move on to the Sweet 16 and get the week off, and the other one is going to be in the play-in next week. So we'll find out the other two teams now in this bracket that are still alive, and we'll recap that matchup here coming up shortly, as it is the Seattle Seahawks who will be taking on the Minnesota Vikings. So Chris really had a struggle coming out of the gate here. Seems like the struggles kind of continued for him in the round one matchup against Paul against the Texans. But Andrew had an uncharacteristic struggle as well with the purple with the Vikings. So two teams that didn't really light the scoreboard up in round one are now going to have to face off to decide which one will leave the tournament. Now, on paper, this probably looks like a Vikings win, but stranger things have happened, so we'll see. But I know Andrew has been a very good competitor in the league and has a really good record, so even if the Vikings don't get to the Final Four, I'm guessing he may be one of the captains based on a season record. But we'll have to we'll see what that bears out here in the next few weeks here, as there might be some other teams that are going to go on a roll here and add to their win total. But as it is, these two teams are playing for their survival in this tournament, and one of them will move on to next week's play-in, and the other one will exit. But now we move into the South region and the Fort Worth bracket. This one's been pretty interesting. Let's go to the winner's side here first and find out who we have. Well, it's the Broncos of Austin, and they'll be taking on how about them Cowboys of Sky Blue Ben? So this is an intriguing matchup, as I don't know if anybody really expected the Cowboys to outlast the Lions, a playoff team, 26-23 in the opening round, whereas the Broncos dispatched of the Dolphins 28-23. So these two teams did not make the playoffs in the previous season, but now they're here in the winners bracket, and one of them has a chance to move into the Sweet 16. So that's a big step up from their fortunes in the regular season. And Sky Blue Ben, I think, has a little bit. He's playing with house money here, I think. So we'll see if Ben can get the job done against a really tough Broncos team that ran into some bad luck at the end of the season last year and just missed out on a wild card. But as it is, either way, these teams will both be alive next week, no matter what. One of them will be in the play-in, and one of them will be taking the week off. And now we move to the loser's side. As previously mentioned, we have CF's Lions taking on Cade's Dolphins. Two playoff teams, so I'm a little bit surprised that they're in this position in the loser's side in this Fort Worth bracket. But as it was, the Dolphins, both these teams put up 23 points in their opening round game, but it just wasn't enough. And so we'll find out. Something's got to give here. So if they put 23 up again, they're going to be heading to overtime, and anything can happen when you get to there. So we'll find out which one of these two teams is going to be going home. Will it be CF or will it be Cade? One of them will be playing next week in the play-in. So really kind of surprised here. But if I had to bet on this game, I would have to say, as much as I say, it's better to be lucky than good, I think it works here. I think Cade's gonna figure it out and find a way to stay alive, as he's always stepped up in these last couple. He stepped up in the league season. He stepped up in the Stableford Cup in last summer's cup. So I'd be really surprised if he made an early exit here in this March Madness tournament. But CF is a seasoned competitor, and he's always a tough out in anything. So So we'll find out what happens in this Fort Worth bracket, as could be some surprises there. As we now head down to Greenville, South Carolina in that bracket, let's find out who the winners were in week 1 and who they are. Well, we got a surprise here. We got the Philadelphia Eagles, and who else do we have? Patrick's Buffalo Bills. So the Bills Mafia and the Eagles are going to face off. So two teams with a really gritty Northeast presence here, and honestly, they're really glad to probably be in Greenville, South Carolina, as the weather's a lot better down there right now. But as it is, the Eagles, I'm more surprised about. That's for sure, as they were able to get a big win in the opening round against the Jets, 29-25, and the Bills were able to pull off the opening round win against the Browns, 24-23. So the Bills had a really little bit more of a struggle here than the Eagles did. And so you think that the Bills probably have a little bit more of an advantage here due to the fact that uh, they've been in the league a little bit. They're a little bit more experienced with the league and basically have a little bit more skill on their side. But the Eagles are playing lights out right now, and I could see them advancing here and going to the Sweet 16 the way they've been playing, or at least based on round 1. So could be a surprise here in the making. But we'll see if Bills Mafia regroups and gets some more tables set up to put those Eagles through. So, but as is, we're going to go to the loser side here in Greenville. As we mentioned earlier, who do we have here? We got another big AFC feel to this matchup, as it's two teams that didn't make the playoffs this past season, but it's the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets. So as mentioned, both of these teams, I mean, they both put up a decent amount of points. They just wasn't enough. And now they're going to face off here to decide who is going to move into the play-in next week. If I were to say right off the bat here, I would probably have to give a little bit of a nod to the Jets. But the Browns, hey, you never know. The dog pound is never, an easy out, and they have their fan base, and I'm sure they made the trip down to Greenville. So, but as it is, the Jets, just looking for a break here. I'm thinking they're just running into some tough opponents recently, and the slide kind of started in the regular season, and it kind of followed them to March Madness. So we'll find out if this is the game where they finally break out and can get into that play-in next week. And the Browns are going to do everything they can to prevent that and move on themselves. As we now head down to the West region, the final region in March Madness, the fourth region, and probably one of the more interesting ones here. Who do we have in the winner's side in Portland? We're going to head to Portland. And we have Tag Rockets New York Giants taking on Allen's New Orleans Saints in the winner's bracket in Portland. Now the Giants, I mean, what more can you say about Don? He's just been playing lights out this season, and that continued in this tournament as they defeated the Tennessee Titans 30-27 in the first round. And the newcomer Allen really came out strong with a big win in the opening round against Art Vandelay's Arizona Cardinals 28-24. So two teams that definitely deserve to be here, and the Saints probably a little bit more surprised, than the Giants, obviously, as the Giants are the Super Bowl runner-up, or the season runner-up. But as it is, you can't ever pick against the Giants the way they're playing right now. But the Saints, hey, they could have an upset in them here. So we'll find out. But either way, both of these teams will be around to play next week. Either one will have a bye, or one will have a play-in game. So we'll find out which one it will be. But I fully expect a very good game here. and I'm not gonna count out the Saints. So we'll see what happens there. But now we'll move into the loser side of this one, of this Portland bracket, and the aforementioned man of the week, the Art Vandelay Industries Cup sponsored Arizona Cardinals, and they'll be taking on who? Well, Platypus Brigade's Tennessee Titans. Now these two teams did play in the regular season, and it was Art taking that one. So we'll see if that can hit, if there's a repeat of that performance in round two of the NFL March Madness, as both these teams put up a pretty decent fight in the first round. The Titans put more points up though; they put 27 up, whereas Art only managed to put up 24 in Portland. So maybe the conditions have changed a little bit in the second round, but we'll find out as uh, this should be a really good one. I'm expecting this one to go down to the wire, and maybe Hale Murray is the difference for Art, but we'll find out as one of these two teams will be saying their farewell after this one, and then the other team will be playing in the play-in against a team to be determined. Now we move to the final bracket in the West region. It's the San Diego bracket, and let's find out who the winners were in week one. Well, this team's been on an absolute roll. The Baltimore Ravens, and they'll be taking on Corey's Jacksonville Jaguars. So Eddie's Ravens and Corey's Jaguars, a very good matchup here. The Jaguars barely missed out on the playoffs in the AFC South, whereas the Ravens they were a playoff team and they advanced in the playoffs and then lost in the divisional round. So as it is, the Ravens got here by winning 28-25 over the Carolina Panthers, and the Jaguars also put up 28 points over the Atlanta Falcons, who had 22. So this is going to be a battle. This will be probably this was probably my runner-up for game of the week this week, as both of these teams can definitely light it up. And it's a shame one of them's going to have to go to the play-in, but that's the rules of the tournament. So, but one of them will have a bye, and the other one will have to play next week. So, if I were to put something on this one, I would definitely, as just judging based on how the regular season went, I would say the Ravens will probably have the slight advantage here. But hey, I could be wrong. We'll find out. The Jaguars uh, are capable of definitely putting up a big number. So as we move now to the final portion of this March Madness second round bracket, we'll head to the San Diego losers side, and unfortunately we have one team that is already saying their goodbyes, and that is the Atlanta Falcons of Sean. They took on the Panthers of Josiah, of Polecat, and we already have a final in this one, and it was the Panthers with the big win, moving on to the play-in, and the Falcons, unfortunately, this ends their tournament. Now, I think Sean just ran into a buzzsaw in that first game against the Jaguars, and then just couldn't get it going against Josiah, who really put up a pretty decent performance in his round two matchup. So Josiah will move on to the play-in to face the loser of that Baltimore Jacksonville game. That's going to be a tough one, but we could have a battle of the cats. We'll find out. But as it is, unfortunately, the Falcons will be heading back to the nest. So we'll see them hopefully in the next competition, which will be Stableford Cup 3 in June. So that wraps up this round two recap. Well, actually, the first round recap and the round two matchups. I'm really looking forward to seeing how some of these matchups go. I think there might be a few upsets in here, just looking at some of these teams. But I'm really intrigued to see who's going to be sitting out after this round and who's going to be getting those buys so that they can relax and get that Sweet 16 spot and make themselves go get one step closer to the Final Four and a potential captain spot in Stableford Cup 3. The last competition in PGA 2K Tour 2K21 that I'm planning on doing. So my guess is we'll have a new game out by August of this year, hopefully. Or EA will be announcing a game, but we'll find out. But I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the announcements and the recaps of these matchups. I'll be back again next week, perhaps maybe a little bit earlier in the week, but we'll find out. It depends on my schedule. But it'll be the second round recap show, and we'll find out which teams went home. We already know one did. We'll find out who the other seven are. We'll find out who the other seven teams are that made the Sweet 16, and then we'll find out what the 8 matchups are going to be next week for the play-in games. So that'll be exciting to find out what's going to happen. So as it is, I really hope you're enjoying your day, and March Madness is picking up in real life, and it's really picking up here in the NFL Stableford League. And this, once again, is Lefty79, and I want to thank you for watching and listening, wherever you may be in this world of ours. Thank you very much, and I will see you down the road, and I'll hopefully see you next week. Take care, and goodbye, everybody.